Welcome to week 5 in the virtual classroom with your virtual voice in the videos, Professor Mike Sloan from the Lawrence Kinlan School of Business. Let's get rocking. So week 5, this is the required case demonstration video. You do have a test coming up. So we do have a test in week 6 that will cover material from weeks 1 through 5. And the test will be taken in the form of a case. So not the quizzing environment that we're using, but a case. It'll just be a bit of a longer one. And there's not going to be as much on this particular case on the test as the other cases, but all the stuff on the test will be directly from cases you've done. This one it's really picky about the placement of some things, and just the general learning of it's important, but we don't like students to get things wrong just because it's like a tiny half of a pixel off or something like that. So there isn't a lot of stuff on the test from week 5, still an important case, but it's definitely covering things from any of the weeks 1 through 5, and it will take place if you're in a face-to-face class in your class next week. You have to be there for lecture to get set up for the test, and then you have to take the test in lab. You can't do that from home. I know some of you get comfortable working on the cases at home and using these videos, but you have to be in there. If you're in an online class, your professor will explain to you how that's going to work, and it should take place at some point in week 5, sometimes maybe near the end of it, week 6, sorry. Sometimes maybe near the end of week 6, maybe week 7, maybe a little bit earlier. It depends on how your professor has it set up. So you do have a test coming up. It's worth 20% of your mark. There will be a separate video to prep you for the test, but there won't be a full demonstration for all the steps on that case. It's a test. Speaking of the quizzes, I just want to remind all of you guys, I'm getting a lot of students in my face-to-face classes that are they're frustrated with some of the questions on the quiz. And 2 of them that asked me about this out of the 4 or 5, like they had no idea the training was there, even though I've shown you guys this many times. So the training's definitely there for you to get you through the quiz, and it literally gives you the answers. So I just want to jump over here quickly and show you. There's a video in the virtual classroom on YouTube showing you exactly how to use the training to get through the quizzes. So you're not left in the dark there. And yes, there are questions on the quizzes that are a bit quirky and a bit tricky, and that's what the training is there for. There are also questions on the quizzes, while they're in the same menus and the same general regions in Excel that we learned in the case that week, we're showing you questions that expose you to new items in the menus and different skills because we want you to try and learn even more. So some of the quiz questions you haven't covered yet, but you're not going to be tested in the quizzes. You're just to take those for extra knowledge and practice of the stuff you already learned. But the training is there. This video shows you exactly how to use the training. Please note that these are pass-fail as well with a 70% passing threshold. This is not something that we're trying to stump you guys up with. Like, these are just extra practice and extra knowledge. And then we're going to do the case demonstration. So I've covered those 2 reminders. We'll get right into the case now. This is the first case, by the way, with multiple files. So pay attention when I'm downloading, and I'll show you what to do with that. There's not much to it. And then we're covering a bunch of random different stuff in here, all from this list, which again emulates the list you will see in FOL content over here. And I would always recommend jumping into the week 5, whatever week you're in, module, just to see what's being covered. There's always a link to the YouTube virtual classroom, and we have the same list here in the slides. They don't always just copy the list right over, but these are all pretty new things that we're going to cover. So let's get right to it and jump to the case and get rocking. So always do the case first, then you can get into the quiz. And usually if you get into the quiz after the case, you'll know at least like 60% or so of the questions, usually 70. That's why we make it a 70 passing threshold. And there's the training right there below the quiz if you need it. And you can open them up both at the same time. And that video in the playlist covers exactly how to use the training to get through the quiz. And you can take them as many times as you want before the Sunday deadline or whatever your deadline may be with your professor. So let's get right into the case, get the steps done, get it completed. So when we open the case here, it looks like Sam has some scheduled maintenance. That doesn't happen very often, but I would always pay attention to that just in case it's right before a professor deadline on some of your weekly work. As I already mentioned, there are multiple files on this one. So this is the first time we've encountered this. This is not a big deal. Oftentimes with the SAM case, and this will happen more often after the first test, so later, starting in week 7. I'm not sure if you have any week 7. I can't remember, but you might. you have multiple files, not just the instruction file and the start file. So you can click on each of them and download them individually, or this is where it might make more sense and create a bit more efficiency if you downloaded them via the download all button. Now I have my computer, my browser that I'm using here in Chrome, set to ask me whenever I'm downloading a file where I want to save it. So when I use this, and I'm going to use this instead of downloading them all separately, it's going to make me download them all separately anyway, which is kind of annoying. But so here I go. I'm going to put them all in downloads. So it's going to bring up the first one. My computer lags a little bit when I do this. So there are the instructions. Okay, and then it's going to immediately go to the next one. So I didn't have a pop-up blocker or anything come up when I used that button. You might if you've never used it before. If you do it, it's going to say confirm that you want to download all these files at once, and you're going to say yes, and it should work no problem without an issue. So I'm just grabbing them all individually because that's how my browser settings are, and I don't feel like changing them. But you should use the button. And the key here with support files, anytime you have additional files beyond the instructions and just the start file, is that whatever support files you have, especially if you're using them in the file and they're not just there as examples, you cannot change the names because Sam will check to see if it's the exact file set up there, especially if you're linking to something, which I think is week 8, if I remember. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Just here's the lesson to learn now that we're starting to use support files is don't ever change the names of support files. Now, this will happen if you start downloading them more than once and you have all these different copies in different places. So just put them all in one place. I prefer downloads. Mine are all here in downloads. And then open up the instructions, rename the start file, and open up the start file and start just like you're starting a normal case. The fact that it has extra files in there just means when you encounter an instruction where you are dealing with any of the support files, then you will go and pick them up or do whatever you need to do with them. That's it. It's not making the case or the instructions any more overly complicated. So here are the instructions. And let's get into the case. Enable editing, always enable editing. And we will jump right back to the instructions and see what we are doing here. Okay, and I have my professor file out too. That's not the one we're worried about right now. So as you can see at the beginning of the instructions, it does indicate, grab the instructions, grab the start file like usual, change the name, and then get all these support files. And that's all. And it just says, you'll also need the following files. Just download them. Doesn't say to mess with the names, nor should you. Just get them downloaded, keep the same names, and then open up the one you renamed, ensure your first name is in there. Let's get into instruction number 1. So Salma Dalvari is an associate project manager at Clean Tech Corp, an environmental engineering firm. She's preparing a workbook that will be given to prospective clients to describe clean tech services and performance, and she's asking you for some help. So it's always the same kind of thing. You got a manager, they don't know Excel as well as you do. They didn't go to the Kinlan School and get this awesome Excel course, so they need to get a little assistance from you. You're going to go right to the project team worksheet, and you're going to add a logo. You're going to add to a logo that's already there, alt text. So we're going to have some steps in this case where we add pictures, imagery to the spreadsheet, similar to the way you do it in Word. It'll start from the insert menu. But once you add these, there are lots of things you can do to them from that tab that comes up that we've been talking about when you have this extra tab that comes up when you have object-based stuff in Excel. So we're going to go here to the project team worksheet. And there's a logo up here. We're going to click on it. As soon as we click on a picture, which is an object-based item, in Excel, you could see this menu came up. As soon as I click off the picture, I don't have that menu. So now you can get into a lot of stuff by right-clicking. I don't see alternative text there, but I'm just showing you that you can do that. You could view alt text. I guess you can put it in from there, but you can also do it from the picture format menu. And from the picture format menu, you can see it. It's a little further to the right. It's right here, alt text. So in either one of these, If you click on it, you can get it into it from right-clicking or from going here. This is where you're going to put in the alt text, and the alt text will be Clean Tech logo. So just copy and paste it. We've learned this is the best way to do stuff. Paste it in there. Does it say to mark it as decorative? It does not. So once you're done with that, you can simply close it. There's not like a save or an enter thing in here. If you click back into the alt text, not that. Don't click there. That's realigning it. If you go back into the alt text, I'll get into it through, right, you can see that it's there. Okay, and you can just close that. And then you don't have to click on that. So that button that I clicked by accident, that's a place in cell button. You don't need that. It will come up as an option. I wouldn't call that a quick analysis option, but that was just there because that's a tool in Excel that they give you the option to do, which is changing the way the picture is formatted in terms of over top of the text or in the sheet. I would just leave that. It didn't say to do anything with that. You could see it realigned it and screwed it up. So all I had to do was undo when I did that. It was very easy to fix. I'm actually glad that happened because some of you are going to see that when you hover over and you can either right click, go in here, view alt text, or you can go to picture format, alt text. Moving on, in cell B1, apply the pattern fill white dark upward diagonal stripe, just this style, okay, WordArt style, to the WordArt. So it says in cell B1, but if you go into B1 and you click on this, this is WordArt, okay? If you go into this cell, okay, this is actually text in a cell that's just formatted green. So I'm gonna click back out of that cell. This is actually WordArt. So WordArt, as a rule, in either Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, which uses tons of this because all the object-based stuff in the slides, I mean, a lot of that stuff they're all text boxes. They're not technically WordArt unless you're using WordArt. This here is WordArt because you're wanting it to cover over multiple cells generally, which this is technically doing because it's kind of bleeding into cell 2 a little bit, into row 2. And this font in here can be edited. So it's kind of like you're dealing, so when you highlight the font, you could see the editing box came up, but that's not what they want you to do. I'm just showing you, as usual, extra stuff you can do to this. If you wanted to change the color, make it bold, what you would do is click into the box after you get the object highlighted, which is just the object. You can move it around, whatever. Click into the box, and you can individually format the text, actually, if it's just certain parts of it. Or if you have the whole text box highlighted, then anything you do up here would happen to all the text. What you're doing here, though, however, is a style. So again, just like the first step with the picture, and I told you this was coming last week, when we kept clicking on the chart, the menus would come up. You click off the chart, the menus aren't there. You're dealing with a menu specific, like a tab specific menu for this item. And under there, right under the kind of the menu tab, you have WordArt styles, not shape styles. Okay, there's all this stuff you can do to the shape itself in the outline. This is the WordArt style. So if you click in there, the WordArt style you're looking for is first column, fourth row. Okay, so first column down, 4 rows is right here. And choose it by clicking on it. And to the shape, Clean Tech Corporation, to coordinate with the other worksheet titles. Yeah, I mean, that I wouldn't say the other worksheet titles have that cool, like, kind of line thing in there, but it's definitely the same color from the same general, like, color scale and color family and stuff like that. So, yeah, that looks cool. And you can always scroll down and make sure it looks the same. So you have some shape formats there. Yep, that looks right to me. So let's move on to step 3. And for step 3, we are going to be obtain a list of information. By the way, before I move off this, because I don't know if they do have you adding WordArt here. It's quite easy to do. If you wanted to add WordArt, that'll be from the same place where you insert a picture. I think we do have a step similar to that later in the case. But you have a variety of stuff in here, some of which, under this menu, can give you a lot of the things we're going to do. In this case, we're inserting pictures and we're doing like organizational charts and stuff. But WordArt is actually under the same place where you'd insert a text box over here, which is also where we did header footer back in week 2. So it's right there. And it's similar to Microsoft Word, actually. I think it's in the same place in that menu as well. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you that. But this was already inserted for you. You were just editing it. And it's, again, a lot of the steps in these cases. I mean, I don't think it's to remind you that these menus are all there as long as you're on the item, but it is a good reminder of that. Number 3, the worksheet should list information about the engineering project team, which is contained in a web page. So we're going to import data. So if you are on a Mac, I'm giving you a heads up right now that this is going to be a little bit different. And as soon as I'm done demonstrating on the PC for you, I will go back to the lettered steps and explain what you would have encountered on your Mac. So for PC users in Windows, this is what we're going to see. Let's get the step done. So first thing it says to do is open up this HTML file in a browser. So again, I'm going to go to my downloads folder, which I have right here. And in my downloads folder, you can see, I'm just going to change the view here to small icons or list. Actually, small icons. So it runs them down. So you can see there's an HTML file in here. Yours should have the exact same name. If you have like parentheses 1 at the end of it or copy of or something, you have to clean that up. That means you downloaded the files more than once and you've messed this up. So what they want you to do is open this in a browser. And the only reason to open this in a browser is to show you how easily you can grab the file path and just to show you that it is an HTML file. It's a web page based file. And you often see this kind of stuff in HTML where they've designed a table, which it looks to me like it came right out of Excel to begin with. And you can import that information in the same format, especially when it's HTML. It's a very easy import to do because it recognizes where all the table cells are and the rows and the columns. And what you're going to need to do to import that is get the file path. So the main purpose of opening it is not just to see it and see what it looks like in HTML format, which is similar to how it's going to look in Excel, but to get the file path. So open it up, go up to the address bar in here, okay? And from C over, if that file path thing showed up for you, you don't need to see it. That's because I clicked in and out of it. You just need from the C drive over, and you can cut or copy that right out of that window. And now when you go to import the data in Excel, you're going to paste that in. So let's get back to Excel. While we're navigating back to Excel here, well, when you see this in this window, this file path like that, if your drive isn't C, if for some reason on your computer you've named your hard drive something else, like D or E, or you're using an external hard drive and it's all on that, that's fine too. It's not like it has to be exactly like mine. Just this part does. Okay? This part has to match precisely. If you put it in a different folder or something, which you are allowed to do, this may not be the same. So I just wanted to point that out so you don't look at this and think it has to be exactly the same no matter what. This file name should be the same, or you're going to get something wrong in SAM, and that's the file name they gave you. So that's the table. Back to Excel. What we're going to do is we're going to go to H12, which is what the instructions want us to do. They want this to be imported into H12. So go to H12. Make sure you're in there. There's no grid lines. Just make sure up in the name box you're in there. And then we're going to the Data tab. And the Data tab involves a fair amount of stuff that we're going to work with having to do with tables. And we've already worked with GoalSeek, which is under GoalSeek, What If Analysis. But at the beginning of the Data tab is where you import stuff, data in quotes, from other applications. And we're going to import from web. There's a bunch of different ways you can import here. And then other sources, which from web is also there. We're just going to click from web on the Data tab. And if you're on a Mac, again, you don't have this. So if you're on a Mac, you can watch this. I think you should, just to see how this works. And then I'll go back after we're done and explain, after we're done with this step, right? As soon as we're done with this step, I'm going to explain what Mac users should do. So paste what you just cut or copied into this box. Okay, now you don't need to go to advanced. I'm just going to show you what's in there. If you wanted to do advanced, you could do like multiple HTML URL parts from different pages. We're just doing one part, quote unquote. So we're just sticking to basic. So put the file path in there, and assuming the file path is correct and you copied it correctly, once you do that, this little hourglass thing will tell you it's querying and it's trying to find this data, which is technically a local file. So it's not like it's going on the web. That's why it was pretty quick. And then it specifically states in the instructions that it wants you to pick up this part of the file. And when you click on it, it'll show you what the table looks like. It looks like there's an extra row down there. It should not get that. It might. We might have to clean that up. And that's what it looks like in web view. So table view, web view. And we're not going to click on transform data. We're not doing anything like that. We're just loading this table right into, and it doesn't matter which view you're looking at, it should load up the same way, right into H12. So when we go load to, it should go to here, and there's different options to load it in. You're just sticking strictly with straight table, which we're going to do in week 8 tables. We're going to do a little bit right now. And you're loading into existing worksheet. And now this should already say H12 there. If you forgot to click on H12 and you're already here with us, just in this box, go and click on H12 and it'll put equals H12 in for you. And now you click OK. Don't check that box. Just do what I'm doing. Click OK. Okay, so it's importing. And sorry if you noticed the tone change in the microphone. I didn't like the way this part of the video turned out, so I'm going back and just redoing it quickly here. So as you can see, you'll have these connections here, and what is imported, what it has imported is an Excel table. So we haven't dealt with these yet. We're going to deal with these more in week 8. And again, if you're on a Mac, I'm hoping that you're watching this just so you see how we're doing it on a PC, but you're going to just do it by copying and pasting, and you need to go to the next timestamp and watch me do it on the Mac. But if you're on a PC, it should have come through something like this. Now you'll notice that you can't see the headers, but if you click in the cells that have the headers in there, they do have the header. It's just white text. And that's why the next step is there, which says clear the formats from the imported data in the range N12 to N18 to remove the web page formatting. One other little thing I noticed, and I don't know why this isn't in the instructions, and there's no note to get rid of it. You can just leave it. But there is an extra row in the table that has nothing in it. And I think I did it with just leaving it and nothing was marked wrong. So I would just leave it. It means you're going to have this green row here once we format the table, but you can just ignore it and just work over top of it. It's not going to affect anything in row 19. What you're going to do here is H12 to N18 only. And you're going to, I guess you could do it in N19 if you wanted to. I don't think it matters. Just follow the instructions and ignore the fact you have that extra row in there. And you're going to the Home tab. And we've used the Home tab before to clear all and also clear formats. This was back in week 2, I think. So you're going to highlight N12 to N18 and just clear formats. And when you do that, you should actually see the formatting come through. Okay, then you can actually see the names. Yours might look a little different here too. It might clear the colors altogether. It depends on how the import was done. Any of those scenarios are fine. And when you clear the formats, you'll be able to see the headers. You may lose all your color. You may still have the color. Either way, you've cleared what's considered to be the regular Excel formatting. And then sitting in the table, you go to the Table Design tab, which again, we're going to learn more about this in a few weeks in week 8. But when you have what's considered to be an Excel table, so they've inserted the functionality of having a table and you can do these drop downs, do all this sort of stuff. They want you to go to the Table Design tab, go to the drop down here and choose Table Style Medium 3. What was it again? Medium 2. Green Table Style Medium 2. Which would be this one right here. Yeah, that one. That one right there, Medium 2. And now I'm going to show Mac users what to do. I'm going to get rid of what's there and show Mac users what to do. And then everybody can go on and start step 4 together in that timestamp. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware when you first import it, you may not see the headers, and that's okay. You just have to remove the formatting. And when you do remove the formatting, you may still have some blue shading. You may have no shading at all. It might just be black and white. Any of those scenarios are fine. And then you just need to go within the table and choose this formatting. Then you're going to rename the table, which is also in the Design tab for the table, project_team. Table names like named ranges, which we haven't learned yet. You can't have spaces in them. So over here is what they brought in as the name. And you're going to just highlight that, backspace it, delete it, and paste in this name and hit enter. If you don't name it that, it will not see the table at all, and you'll get the entire thing wrong. If the file name was incorrect that it came from, you will likely get it wrong. So, and these are easy things to address. It's not a big deal. Just don't mess with the file names and make sure you remember to name this table. And that's it. So we've now done an import from the web, which is considered a pretty advanced step in Excel, even though it's not bad at all. If you're a Mac user, and where are we at in the video right now? 7. Oh, this is a reboot because I made a mistake. I had to fix wherever we are. It's going to be, the chapter is going to be in there. So if you're a Mac user, ignore what I was just saying there. Mac users, now I'm going to show you what to do. I can't show you per se, but what you would have done was, instead of opening up the file in a browser, you didn't even need, well, you can actually. Part A you should do, open up the file in a browser. Then you don't need to copy the file path like I showed everybody else to do. You're literally in the browser going to highlight all of this stuff, copy it, put your mouse in H12 and paste it in there. You're going to copy and paste this. So copy, go to H12 in the Excel file, which I'm not going to do because I already have stuff in there. And here you would just paste if you're a Mac user. And once you do that, actually I can here. I'll just do a different spreadsheet. I'm going to just do it in H12, just like, as if I was in the Mac user. Once you do that, you have this table put in there. It doesn't really say anything about the column widths, and I think you do have to deal with some column widths in a bit, but I would just auto fit them all like I just did. You just highlight all the columns and you can auto fit. And let me see if there's any column width stuff in here. I don't think there is. Bear with me for 1 second. Yeah, and that's down at 15. Yeah, you're not messing with the columns. I would just do that so it looks, so you can see the stuff better. And then you've got this table in here, but it is, notice it is not a table. This is not a table for you. It automatically was made a table for us in Windows on our PC. So you're going to have to highlight that data that you just imported into H12, go to Insert, go to Table, and yes, your table has headers, and you're going to click OK. And then you can do all the same stuff we did. Change it to this, okay? Change the table name to this. So if you go to medium, pick medium 2. Now here's the thing, and this is why it says to remove the formatting for all of us. Notice that I chose table style medium 2, and it didn't change the coloring, because when you copy and paste, it's copy and pasted the coloring. So that's where the instructions are actually incorrect. To tell everyone in step 3 to clear the formats from the imported. Well, no, it's, you know what? It's not incorrect. It's a best practice to clear the formats from the stuff you imported. And on the Mac users, you shouldn't have that extra row in 19, but it should be fine. So clear the imported data from N12 to N19 and 18, sorry. And some of you might not have gotten that extra stuff in N19 either. So when I clear the formats from here, like I did with the people on the PCs, now when I go to table design and put on medium 2, it works. Okay? So with the Mac, there actually is more of a purpose for that, where with the PC, it was just basically a best practice. And then the Mac users can also go and do the table name right here in the left corner. And that would be how to get it done on a Mac. Notice that I've created this extra sheet to demo that for you on a Mac. You do not do that, obviously. So I'm going to get rid of that. You guys would have done it right here in H12 where I did it. You can close the query box now, and you can scroll back over to here. What you're going to do here now is you're going to start creating data based up here. You're going to start referencing data from the table you imported. Okay, and I'm still a little thrown off by that coloring being in 19 and bringing in that formatting and them not having anything in the instructions about addressing that. But that's why I'm certain when you get to the end, it won't affect your mark. And Mac users wouldn't have had anything there anyway because of the way they had to do it. So now, finally, we are on to step 4. So that was a big deal. That was a big step to learn how to import something and get it all cleaned up. Once you do that once, you'll be able to do it a lot more quickly, but it's stuff like that that I'm trying to avoid on the test. I don't think we have any importing at all, actually. In fact, I know we don't. Okay, so let's go on to step 4. Step number 4 is introducing you to a text-based function, and we're going to do a variety of these through step 5. These are really cool, where if you're importing stuff from another sort of platform, maybe a web page, maybe like it's like a security system where it's monitoring everybody that's coming through a door or something, and it's putting all their stuff into these cell-based tables that can be used in Excel. Maybe it's not exactly the way you want it, which is exactly what's happening here. So we're going to go to cell B5. We're going to use a function called concat. No, it's not a lying cat. I'm so funny. My dad would have done that joke for sure, so I had to do it in his honor. He's still around doing those dad jokes. Concat stands for short for concatenate, which is like putting things together. So if you don't know where this is, and under the formulas tab, it would obviously be under text base, which is right here. It'd be in there, because I already mentioned these are a bunch of text-based functions. Just like I said, I think the faster way to do it, just start typing it out, double click the autocomplete, your parentheses in there, hit the FX to get into the function wizard box, and you're ready to go. And this is more than one input, so you should always use the function wizard if it's anything more than one range or one input. And what's happening here is the first name and the last name, they're in 2 different cells. And the way they want this to be in the context of this team meeting and this spreadsheet is to have them both in the same cell. So what you're going to do, according to the instructions, is pick up the first name in I13, followed by a space, and then the second name. So if we go to I13, which is one down from the headers, which is right here, that's the first name. Then they want a space. Now, I taught you guys a couple weeks ago, whenever you have text inside of a function, you have to put quotes around it. So if you want a single space, what you do is put your double quote, type the space bar, end quote, and you've got a space. Now, I don't know why, but a lot of students in past semesters, we had a case similar to this. This is a brand new case as of the end of 25, but they would have double quotes. Like they were like copying and pasting the quotes from the instructions, and they weren't, and then they were putting quotes around the quote. Just type it. You can type this. You don't have to copy and paste that, okay? And then right after the space, you're going to put J13, which is the second name. And if you hit enter, which is what you're going to do now, you can see it's taken this item from one cell and this item from one cell, put a space in between them, and put them all in one cell. So these are very cool, useful functions. And once you do it once, you can simply drag it right down, and you'll get all the names down to Gia, and you're on to the next one. So that was step 4, which is made into its own step. We just did the fill the range part, just to introduce you to text-based functions. And now we're going to do a bunch of sort of text-based type of stuff you might do when you import something from the web. So first thing you're going to do is copy the role data from K13 to K18. So stop as soon as you get a range. Stop right there. Go highlight it. K13 to K18. Copy. Right-click, copy, Control-C. And you're going to put it into C5 to C10, but only the values. You don't want the formatting. So if you paste it right away, you can paste without formatting. I think it's better at this point to start to learn to do it the other way. If you go into the cell you're about to paste into, and it's the same amount of cells, it's going to know you don't have to highlight all the way through. Just right click and go to here, values only. Right click, values only. Command click, values only. Should work the same on your Mac. Done. That was part A. That was easy. In D5, enter a formula using the proper function to capitalize the first letter in each word in the department starting in L13. So this is a single input function. This one, you don't actually have to pull up the function wizard. You could see there for the role, we were just basically moving them over, text only. Now we're on to here. So we're going to go here and we're going to go equals proper. So proper is one that will capitalize the beginning of each word for you. It also, I use this a lot with the land registry system as a realtor. Everything I copy out of there, it copies in all caps. So another really cool thing it does is it will take words that are all capital letters and make only the first letter capital again. So it just makes them lowercase, which is great. Very useful. So start your parenthesis. And you don't need the function wizard. This is a single input function. Pick up the text you want to make proper, hit enter. Now, You're probably thinking like, wow, what's the big deal? Just go and fix the 2 letters. Think if you had 1,200 of these data items to input. All you got to do is do it once and then copy it through. See how easy that? So text-based functions are awesome. Now we're going to do a couple more cool ones. First, in D6 to D10, you're going to fill with a formula in cell D5 to list the departments of the remaining team members. So we already did that. We just did that with the proper function. That was me dragging down D6 to D10. Sorry about that. In E5, so there are also text-based functions called left and right, where if you have cells that have content in them, and there's a little bit of stuff in front of it, it's like the same amount every time, and you just want the stuff from the left or from the right, you can use a function to do that. This would take forever to do manually. So in cell E5 equals E5, in cell E5. So in E5 equals, we're going to use the left function. So type left, start your parenthesis, pull up the function wizard. So the text that we want to extract from, we're extracting something from that, is going to be in M13. So M13 is right here. And all we want from the left are the first 2. Now, I realize these are only 1 character, but what you always do is put the most characters over from the left you want, and it will know as soon as it hits a space, you're only going to want that first one. It just knows. So when you look at that, it says 2 characters over from the left because the largest abbreviation there that you want is 2. So then you go and you put 2. And what it's going to do here is it's going to take just the 18 out of this cell and put it into E5. And when you scroll down, which is your next step, you will see the ones with the singles knew to only take the single. It didn't take a single in a space. Here, I'll show you. There isn't a space in there, trust me. Go to F5. In F5, we're going to use a function called right. That'll do the same thing, but from the right. And we want the states here. States are all 2 characters, so this makes it quite easy. So go into the right, start your parenthesis. And then this is more than a single input, so get into the function wizard. And you're going to be picking up the cell with the city and the state. So go here. Pick up N13. And you're going 2 characters this time from the right. And when you click OK, it will give you just the state abbreviation, and you scroll down and you are done. Almost done, I think, with step 5. And then they want you to hide rows 12 to 18 so that the worksheet does not display any duplicate data. And the purpose of this is basically you imported this so that you would have the exact data and there'd be no mistakes or anything. You put it in exactly the way it was in the web table, but now you don't need it anymore. But it's all referenced from this section of data. So you're going to go and highlight rows 11 to 18 and just hide. So I think this is the first time we've hidden any rows or columns. This is a pretty common practice in terms of just keeping things clean and not too busy. So we used that table for what we needed it to use it for, and then we just hid the data so that it's still there if we need it. And this is where, again, that extra, and this may not have happened to you when we did step 3, and this extra null row in the table is still showing up as green. And when I cleared the formats, it probably should have cleared, but for some reason on a PC, it didn't. And even if I were to go to clear all again, it still would be there. And I'm still insisting that it will not mark that wrong. And you may not have had that happen to you. See, it doesn't do anything. So I would just leave it. If it's a problem at the end of the case, I'll clean it up and fix that part of the video. I doubt it will be. Moving on to step 6. Go to the Company Awards worksheet, copy the data. And so this is kind of a cool quickie step. So in the Company Awards worksheet, we're going to go over there. That's right here. There's some data that came out of another system, probably, you can see, because that, the columns aren't really sized up right, and it's got this weird formatting put in there. And they want to use that data, but in a bit of a different way. So you're going to, you see it in H5 to I8, the project team, She asks you to switch the rows and columns when you insert it in H5. Oh, she wants it in H5 to I8. Insert the imported. So here's what you do. So this data has been imported from somewhere else, as I already mentioned, and it's just not formatted quite right. So you're going to copy what it is there, B2 to G3. Highlight B2 down to G, down to 3, copy. Go to the project team worksheet. It did not say cut. It might check to see if it's still in there, so just copy it. I did Control C and transpose it into H5. So this is a tool I think I brought up in week 1. It's not something we use very often, but what it does is it takes things that are across in a row and puts them into columns down, and vice versa. It'll do the other way around. So if you simply go to H5 and sit in that first cell, and don't just paste. You got to go to paste. So command click or right click. Go here. I think it's that one right there, actually. No. Where's transpose? Yeah, it's the 4th one over. Sorry, that's the link, of course. I could tell by the link. You can also go down here and find it, but it should be the 4th one over. If you don't see it down, you want to look for that. And you can, if you can't figure out which one it is, if your icons don't look the same, go to paste special, and under paste special, just choose transpose, which is down here. And either one of those would work. You could, if you know the icon, you can choose the icon button. Otherwise, you can do it this way, and it pastes it in there, and it just happens to be the same exact background color, so you're good to go. And that was a cool step. We were able to take this across in rows and paste it here into columns. It's just simply using transpose. And again, if you don't want to have to go into paste special, you can simply transpose from this button right here, which you should have available if you have the most recent version of Office 365, like I told you guys to get at the beginning of the semester. You should have that available in Windows or in Mac. And that was step 6. Almost. The rest of step 6, resize column H to its best fit. So simply double click at the border edge of the column there, and you can see now it's enough to fit everything in. And you can also sit on column H like this and go to Format, Column Auto Fit right there. They're both the same thing. Okay, they should both get you marked correct. Unless you double click over here and then shift it a tiny bit. It's probably safer actually to just go Format, Auto Fit Column Width. Probably the safest way to do it for column H. And that's a repeat step. We've done that in the previous case. Number 7, on the project team worksheet. So we only use that worksheet basically just for that. I'm surprised they didn't ask you to hide it. Yeah, they don't. So go back to the project team worksheet. We're already on there. Selma asks you to provide a diagram. So we're going to insert an organizational chart. So this is like highlighting data and inserting a chart. It's just going to drop it in the middle of the page, except you don't have to highlight anything because you're just going to put it in there. And it's done from the insert menu. Go figure. It doesn't matter where you're sitting. You can still have column H highlighted. You're going to insert. You're going to go Smart Art. And under Smart Art, there's all these cool options. One of which is an organizational chart. And organizational chart is under the hierarchy category. And it's the first option. Even though if you go to all, it looks like it's throwing some in there that look like that. But you're going to go to the hierarchy category and choose organizational chart, which is the first option. You click it, you click OK. Okay, it just pops it right in there, just like a chart. And you're going to be able to move it based on these items in the boxes, just like a chart. So you're already probably guessing what the next thing is. Left corner, right corner, just like we did a bunch of last week. So left corner B19, right corner E31, and do it the same way. Take the left corner and put it in there first, E19. And this gets a little tricky because the grid lines are turned off, but it shouldn't matter. It's just the same rules. Make sure you're over enough in B that you're not touching A. Make sure you're in row 19 enough that you wouldn't be touching any grid lines. Like just make sure you're in the white space of the cell. It's the same as we were doing with charts. And then lower right is E31. So lower right, we're going to go into E a little more and then down to 30. We're already in 31. There you go. You don't even have to adjust it. I mean, maybe it might not be identical on yours, but mine worked out pretty good like that. And then you can start putting the fields in. So once it's done, you just put your people in there. So enter Devi in the top shape, Casal in the second shape. So you can do this one of two. You can enter it over here, or you can enter it right in the shape. I like to put it right in the shape just so I can see it happening. That's Devi. Okay, that's Casal. After Casal, you're going to add a shape. I would do that before you keep typing the rest in. So just click on Casal's shape, then right-click, and you can add shape after. It's very user-friendly. Like you saw, there's a bunch of other options in there too. Double-click in that one. That one's going to be Mata. And then down here, Bar, Rizzo, and Chew. Bar. I always like the name Rizzo. Cool name. Rizzo. See what I was doing there? I'm glad that happened. When you're done, it's a text box. You can tell these are all text boxes, just like the chart titles. Should I be hitting enter? No. Enter just adds hard enters, and then I have to undo. You saw me doing that. Just click to the next box. Click outside the box when you're done. Rizzo. And Chew. And then click outside the box. And it should look like this. So they're giving you the figure right in there. So you don't have to like go to the bottom and worry about whether or not it's right. And number 9, insert a diagram to illustrate the company awards as follows. So I would click off, like if you're still in the other one, just click off it and click into some random cell. It doesn't matter which one. Then insert menu, Smart Art. It said this one is from the picture. What was it called again? So picture category, and it's called the circular picture callout. So circular picture callout would be the second one right there. Circular, I just went to the one that looked like it would be called that, and it is. So choose it, click OK. Once it comes up, I guarantee you're going to be doing left corner, right corner. Of course you are. Left corner is F19. Lower right is J31. So put your left corner in F19. So we're good. 19, we're too low. Okay, up. Stupid green row. I don't know. And I bet that didn't happen to some of you. I don't know why mine did that, but it did. Whatever. F19. So I'm obviously over too far in E as well. So now that I know I'm in 19, nice and centered. F, yep, I'm right in the middle of F. That's fine. I could go a little bit over to the left. And then lower right, we are going to be in J31. So lower right, J31. So obviously for J, I need to come further in. Not way in, just enough to be in J. And then 31, I'm pretty tight on that. I could come down a little bit more. There. So F19 and J31. And these are easy steps to get wrong, and they're easy to fix too. You see how I keep confirming by clicking the column and highlighting it, so that way I know I'm in the right spot. Now I'm sure I'm going to be putting pictures in here, and those will probably come from some of the support files that we had there. So enter 2029 next to the top shape on the right. I had to do a quick stop record because I got to the end of that step number 10. I realized I forgot to do the beginning part of it. I was talking about putting the text in and how they're going to have a space for it for each of these boxes, and I just never did the first one. So you also have to, and if you did it in this order, it's fine. You have to put the word awards in the, so just double click on the first box, which you can see has nothing in it yet, and put the word awards in there. Okay, so if now you see the rest of the step with awards not in there, you just need to ignore that. The word awards should be in there. Don't hit enter. Click outside the box. And now I'm going to go back into the video and you'll see me continue to do these. And then we'll move on to the next step. So just ignore the fact that that word isn't in there for a little bit afterwards here. You're good. Just make sure you put it in there now. Okay? So they'll have a space for this. So go back. Top shape on right. This text is 2029. Next one in the middle. So see how I did that? And here I'm typing it over here. I could type it over there too. It was really small looking, weird looking though. It just says text and it's kind of in a small. So I'm just going to, and if your computer orients it up and down, don't worry about that. It should still be marked correct. This is probably 2028 and then 2027. Okay, so 2028 and then 2027. And we can check this once we're done to make sure it's right. We scroll down now, actually, just make sure those are right. 987, yep. And then we have cool little awards to go in there. So from file, we're going to do from file. I just clicked on it and it automatically takes me. I can go stock, I can go online. So from file, and you're going to go to the folder wherever it is you put them. Mine are in downloads. So I'm going to go to downloads. And you guys, this is like just attaching an email, and you're going to choose 2029. And then here. And you're going to go from file, and you're going to choose 2028. Should go back to the same folder now. Here. Go. And you're going to choose 2027. And then they did not provide you with the full-size photo, at least yet. I don't think you end up doing one in there. And you can always scroll down just to preemptively look ahead, because you're almost done now. You've only got a few steps left. I know this is a longer one, guys. I warned you week 5 was a bit tedious. Not super hard, but you just got to make sure everything's in the right place with the right files, with the right measurements. Again, these 3 files, it's going to be checking in your Excel file that you've inserted those 3 files named according to what they gave them to you named. So when I go to downloads, mine are named exactly how they were named. If yours have like parentheses 1 or copy of or something like that in there, it will likely be marked wrong. Okay, number 11. Go to the cost benefit worksheet, which Selma asks you to finish. So we're finally moving on to another worksheet here, which is the cost benefit worksheet, and we're there. And Selma wants you to open the Word document, support EX365 7A examples, copy all the paragraphs, paste the text into B20 of the cost benefit worksheet to match destination formatting. Okay, so this doesn't sound too bad. I'm going to go to my downloads folder. I'm going to open up the Word file they gave us. And once it's open, I'm going to copy those paragraphs. Okay, so here's the file. You likely had to click Enable Editing like I did. I'm going to copy everything. I'm going to get rid of that extra space at the end. See that? Now I'm actually trying to do that in the context of them asking us to copy it. Just don't have that extra space in there. Right-click, copy. Go back to here, paste. Oops, I forgot where it's going already. B20. Go back to the file, paste into B20. So B20. And you're going to match destination formatting. So I would right-click. Well, you could paste it first. Paste first. And as soon as you paste, it doesn't look right. You know right away, and you go use this and match destination formatting, just like we learned last week. Okay, so then it puts it right in. So this is an example of not having to import from Word, but if you're in Microsoft Word and you have a bunch of stuffs, you have a bunch of lines with hard enters on them, and you paste into a single cell, it will know after each hard enter to put it into a different cell. Okay, so we pasted that into B20. Okay, there's a couple different ways. Why did it just unhighlight that? There's a couple different ways you can do this. Doesn't matter if it unhighlighted. Like the instructions, the way they're doing it, it has it put it into the cells, and that's great. But what they want you to do now is have this go into the further columns anywhere there's a comma. And you can see the commas were already put in there for you, or a space, or quotes. There's different types of delimiters, as they're called. So this is going to be from the data tab, which, how did I get to the data tab already? And over to the right, there's something called text to columns. So with the stuff you just put in there highlighted, go here, text to columns, and you're going to do a delimited text split. So just leave this checked off to delimited, click next. This will likely be on tab by default. Oh, I know why I was there, because I just tried it to make sure it worked while the video was paused. So this works. I hadn't done this in a while. So it'll likely be on tab. You're going to go to comma, and you can turn off tab because there's none of it's tabbed, right? And then it'll show you a preview. It says, okay, cool. So you're looking like this, and it is looking like that. And the word project is way over here. You can't even see it because it's so far over off to the left. And you're going to click next, and then you're going to click finish. And what it does is it moves them into these columns. Now, it will likely say there's already data here. Do you want to replace it? That's because these cells are already formatted and there's borders and stuff. Just click OK, and it should move it right in there, and all these should calculate, should be in good shape. Should look just like that. And that should work the same way on your Mac as well. I don't believe they had any stuff in there related to Mac instructions. Yep. Yeah, should be no problem. Okay, and then you're going to do data bars. I told you conditional formatting would have kept coming up. And here it is again in step number 12, conditional formatting. By the way, what you just did there with the delimiter, that is the best way to do it with text delimiting. But there's a function too called text split. And you highlight the cell and you split it up based on commas or tabs or spaces. The same way we just did the delimiting. But that's the better way to do it. So just do it the way I did it. Move on to step 12. G21 and G28. Solid blue data bars. Solid blue. Okay. That sounds like something we've already done before. Let's go G21 to G28. Home tab. Conditional formatting. Data bars. Solid blue. That other one's light blue. That one in the middle. So solid blue. And we've talked a lot about data bars. We've used them in a couple cases. That's done. Control save. Is that the first time we've saved? Hopefully you guys have been saving more than that. So number 13 has us making a chart. We did a bunch of charts last week. We're going to keep trying some. We got triple non-adjacent ranges. And we're going to do clustered bars. So let's do B20 to 28, B, D, and E. 20 to 28. Okay. And they don't have to be highlighted in that order either. It doesn't really matter. I would still do it in that order. So I'm on B20. Hold down the control key. Keep the control key held down. Well, these you can do together, actually. You didn't have to do those separately. I did, but it won't make any difference. So you can do the first one and then the other two. Then insert. We're doing chart. We are doing... Oh, good. I thought it just unhighlighted that. Clustered bar. Okay. So clustered bar. So choose the first category. Clustered bar, I think that's stacked column. Clustered bar is the first one under the 2D bar category. Clustered bar. And then what are we going to be doing? You know it's coming. Left corner, right corner. So let's go back and get left corner in B5, right corner in G19. And that's why all that space was there for us. So B5, make sure you're not across into A. Make sure you're in. I could go up a little bit. Go over to G. Now, I always say just use the one handlebar on the bottom and you can do the whole thing at once. So we're in G still, in 19, no problem. Let's get the details in. So that's number 13. Remove the chart title because it's identified clearly. So let's get rid of the chart title. Okay, why is it? Okay, go. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I want to get my Alt tab going again here. There we go. Okay, remove chart title. For annual income data series, add data labels to the outside end of each bar. So just for the one data series. So this is similar to stuff we did last week. So you can see there's two different data series. One is annual income, one is annual cost. If you click on any bar with two data series, it'll highlight all those bars. And that actually is, so the dark green is annual cost. This is annual income. So then do data labels from right clicking. Because if you do it from the chart menu, it'll put it on all of them, right? And you're going to add... Actually, no, it shouldn't if you have them highlighted. What kind of data labels they want? Outside end. Okay, so yeah, you do need to do it from the chart design menu. But because those are highlighted, when you go to data labels, those are the only ones that should get it. And it worked. Yeah, no problem. So just that data series, not the whole chart, just the light green, the annual income, excuse me. And that was for number 14. Number 15, add a shape to the worksheet. So this, again, you got to be really careful with how you place it and where you put it. In G3, insert an arrow left shape. So this is in the block arrow section of the shapes gallery. So go to Insert, go to Shapes, Block Arrows, and you're going to go to arrow left. It looks like the second one, arrow left. So when you click these, they don't automatically appear in the screen. You get this different looking cursor, and then you just draw it, right? And it doesn't really matter how you draw it at first, how big or small it is, because then you're going to move it and put it where it needs to go. So in G3, it says insert an arrow left. So go to G3. So make sure it's in G3, and then you can go down to the picture and look how big it is. I don't think it's nearly that big, but it does give you measurements in a minute here. So we've got it approximately in G3. I mean, the arrow part of it is. Although it does seem a little bit different than the picture. I just noticed that. It's kind of got it like smack dab in the middle, which means it would have started in G3. And generally, it's better to go by what they do in the picture sometimes. Although it's not great with the way that the chart's set up when you do the placements, because you have to have it floating in the cell. So, and it wants resize the arrow to a width of 1.4 inches. Doesn't say anything about the length. So I would make it a little bit longer just because, well, no, width. Let me see. So click on this. It's got its own menu, of course. Width. 1.4 inches. And you can type, listen, if you're on a Mac and this comes up as centimeters, just type in the quote to make it inches. You don't have to do the conversion. See how I typed in the little quote, which identifies inches, and then you hit enter and it's just 1.4 inches. So it does look the same as what they drew. I mean, I didn't really so you shouldn't have to adjust the top part. It doesn't say what to put it. So move the arrow so that its tip is, oh, it does say right here. Its tip is on the right border of the range, F3 to F4. So just kind of get it, it should be almost touching. Mine's kind of like touching. It's just like right there, F3, F4. Type sample data into the arrow. So if you left click on the arrow and then right click and go edit text, it allows you to type something into it. At which point you can type sample space data. You could also copy and paste it. As soon as you're done typing, click outside the box and then add an effect to it. So anything you put into a worksheet, including pictures, like if we were just to put a picture in here, which is the same as Microsoft Word, insert pictures from file, you can add all these effects to it. And the effects are always, when you click on the item, in this sort of gallery here. So they want subtle effect, green accent 1, shape style. So there's outlines, fills, effects, and then there's also shape styles. So under this overall effects, it says, so this is not from one of these categories, even though this says shape effects, and it says add the subtle effect. The subtle effect is actually one of the styles. So sitting on the item, you go here and you choose subtle effect, which is add the subtle effect. Green accent 1, shape style. Oh, it is shape style. Yeah, shape style. Yeah, shape styles. Subtle effect, green accent 1. Colored. Subtle effect, green accent 1. So I'm surprised they didn't tell you second row, fourth column like they usually do. But I'm showing you exactly where it is. And you could have looked at the picture and figured out which one it was simply by looking at it. And now we are officially done, and I'm hoping you saved more than once. I might add some text into the middle of the file. Time to save. Hit Control S. Now it's time to submit. So I'm going to close the file, and I forgot to save my last few changes, but it automatically makes me save, so we're good to go. That did take a little bit longer, so we might, yeah, it's trying to time me out, but I think I'm still good. Go here, grab it, downloads. Submit, see how we do. Same process as always, guys. That's why I'm not talking you through it all the time. You guys have done this several times now. And again, if you don't have 100, and there we go, 100%. So you will see there's a couple spots in the video where I stopped because I missed some things, but that was my first submission. I fixed it while I was doing it, and then I did end up getting 100. So it's not bad. It's just a lot of placement of stuff and moving things into the right place, and we won't have a ton of that on the test, and it didn't turn out to be quite as long. I mean, I think the video from last week was this long, actually. So, yeah, that's it. That's it for week 5. It's been great to have you in the video again virtually. We covered a lot of stuff here, all these things in the list being some of these things. And we're a week away from a test, and we didn't really do much with the quick analysis tool. I just brought up that it was coming up in certain spots, but we didn't actually use it this time. That was in week 4, actually, or week 3. But it has been covered. And we are a week away from a test, and there will be a second video. Sorry, not a second video. There will be a video in week 6 when we have the test, and there will be one in week 14 too for test weeks. But these videos will not be step-by-step showing you everything that's on the test, or it wouldn't be a test, right? So you're going to walk in and you're going to have a case, just like these cases you've been doing, and it will cover things from the first 5 cases. And you won't have seen me demo these steps, and you're just going to have to figure them out. And you will, and it's open resource. But the video will it'll give you a few breadcrumbs and kind of prepare you for how the test is. But it's not going to be a long video. It's just basically going to show you the format of the test and what it's like, and talk about how much time you're going to get, and that'll be it. I mean, you got to show up in lecture. If you're in a face-to-face class, you got to be in lecture to get added to the test and get set up for the test, and then you go and take it in lab. If you're in an online section, your professor will tell you what to do. But you will have a test sometime at the beginning, near the end, somewhere in and around week 6. And then, depending on the semester, you might have some time off for Thanksgiving week, but we will be back right after that, kicking into week 7. Same with winter break, actually, the same thing. Anyway, thanks for coming to another video. That was a great case, week 5. Good job, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.